What happens when blue cities prioritize progressive ideology over citizen safety and common sense? How many more lives must be lost before we follow the science on cashless bail? Here's the point. On August 22nd, 2025, Irina Zarutska, a 23-year-old Ukrainian refugee living in Charlotte, North Carolina, was brutally stabbed to death in the throat on a light rail train by DeCarlos Brown Jr. This was in plain sight and in plain view of numerous passengers. Brown was a repeat convicted criminal who had been arrested 14 times, including in armed robbery and possession of an illegal firearm. He spent 5 years in a state prison, and he was diagnosed with schizophrenia, displaying violent behavior. He was also released on cashless bail. This prompted Irina's law in North Carolina, which removed cashless bail for certain offenses, and it required judges to impose conditions on violent offenders during pretrial release. Sadly, Irina's story is not unique. The White House released a statement back in August referring to cashless bail as the hunting grounds that our cities have become for repeat violent criminals who mock our justice system. In 2022, a New York man brutally executed a woman and a mother of 3 in front of her children less than 24 hours after he was freed without bail in a violent assault of that same exact woman. In 2024, 2 illegal immigrants who jumped and bit 2 NYPD police officers were released without bail. In 2023, a man in Washington, D.C. was arrested for sexually abusing a 5-year-old and was later released without bail. He had been arrested for sex crimes and violent acts multiple times in prior years. The White House listed dozens of known crimes across the country where the criminal was released on cashless bail. According to data from the Manhattan Institute, New York City saw a 17% increase in violent crime in the 2 years following bail reform. Chicago reported a 25% spike in felony arrests involving defendants with pending cases, meaning criminals were committing new crimes while out on release. A study from the California Policy Lab found that defendants released pretrial under new reforms were 20% more likely to be arrested again before trial than under previous policies. The data is clear. These policies don't work, but progressive ideology doesn't care about evidence. It hasn't since such criminal reforms began going back to the 1960s. So how should we think about this? And here's the point. First, no cash bail policies prioritize progressive ideology over protection of innocent lives. Make no mistake, this isn't about compassion or criminal justice reform. This is about dismantling law and order in the name of social justice theory. The same activists who claim to care about the vulnerable have created policies that make the most vulnerable, like women, children, the elderly, the poor, sitting ducks for repeat offenders. Romans 13 is clear. Government exists to execute God's wrath on evildoers. When government fails to protect the innocent and punish the guilty, it abandons its God-given mandate. Irina Zarutska deserved protection from a violent criminal with a history of assault and mental health challenges. She didn't get justice because the city of Charlotte chose ideology over common sense. Second, the data proves these policies fail, yet many blue cities refuse to reverse course. The evidence is overwhelming. Cashless bail doesn't reduce recidivism. It doesn't improve public safety. It doesn't make communities more safe or just. What it does is embolden criminals and endanger law-abiding citizens. Progressive prosecutors claim they're following evidence-based criminal justice reform. That's a lie. The data tells us a much different story. Christians must not be naive about this. Suicidal empathy is killing common sense, and it's killing innocent lives. This isn't about justice. It's about power. The power to make society according to a utopian vision that both denies human nature and the God of moral order. We must demand that our leaders fulfill their responsibility to protect citizens, punish evil, and maintain law and order. We must honor victims, just like Irina Zarutska, by refusing to accept policies that treat criminals as victims and citizens as expendable. And we must remember, when government fails to wield the sword for good, the righteous suffer and evil goes unpunished. No more cashless bail. Period. Full stop. Every city and state should adopt Irina's law, making it impossible for violent criminals to walk.